Hello and welcome. This is Saturday News at Noon. I'm your host, Keith Lander, coming to you from the Tabernacle Baptist Church right here in Dayton, Ohio. Welcome, and I appreciate all the comments from the last show. I try to like them all, make sure that you know that I've seen them. So continue to do that and continue to share the show because I think we bring some relevant information that is useful, information that you can share, which is accurate, and it's timely. And so on this show, we're going to deviate away from the scam alert for 1 week, and we'll be back with the scam alert on the next show. But I wanted to highlight a newspaper here, community newspaper, and it's the Dayton Weekly News. And if you're not familiar with the Dayton Weekly News, let me fill you in. Now, the Dayton Weekly News is the longest running African-American news publication. It follows the footsteps of the minority newspapers that Paul Laurence Dunbar once published in the Dayton area. And that newspaper was called The Tattler, and Paul Laurence Dunbar put that out. Well, in 1993, Don G. Black, he noticed that there was a void in the African-American community. And the void is that he wanted positive news that could be shared through the community. And so what Mr. Black did, on November 23rd of 1993, he issued out the Dayton Weekly News. That was the first time it rolled off the press. And so the Dayton Weekly News fulfilled that void. It comes out every week. Of course, Don Black has since passed on, and Don Eric G. Black is running the newspaper now. And the newspaper comes out every week, every Thursday. You can get it delivered. They got a subscription. They do have a Facebook page. They got a web page. It's very informative. And, we always like to say we want to support black businesses. Well, the Dayton Weekly News, everybody should have a subscription to the Dayton Weekly News. And if there's businesses out there who's looking to advertise, I suggest you contact the Dayton Weekly News. And I will give you the address and the phone number where they're located. They're located at 1501 North Main Street, Dayton, Ohio, 45405, and the phone number is 937-223-8060. And that's the Dayton Weekly News, and it's a very good newspaper. You'll see things in that newspaper that the other newspapers in this area don't cover as it relates to the African-American community. You may even see somebody you know in this newspaper who are doing good things in the community. I read it every week, and every week when I read it, I see something or somebody that I know that are doing good things and see some people that I didn't know and say, wow, I didn't know that was going on. So subscribe to the Dayton Weekly News, folks. If we're going to be about talking about black businesses, then we need to support them. And if there's anybody out there, any business, any advertising who want to advertise in the Dayton Weekly News, I suggest you contact them because I remember Don Black. He was the first one who published a letter to the editor that I wrote to him many years ago. And that was back before he even had a computer. I used to go down to the library and hack out a letter and print it out and run it over to Mr. Black's office and say, hey, Don, would you read this? And he'd read it, and he said, well, yeah, I'll put this in there. And he did that several times, and I appreciate the fact that he did that. And you can also read letters to the editor in the Dayton Weekly News, and they have church articles in there also, and you'll see advertising. If you don't have a church home, they got a bunch of churches who advertise in there, and that's a good thing. So the Dayton Weekly News, folks, support our own newspaper. It's an African-American community newspaper, so support that Dayton Weekly News. Don't let it, just hang out there. It's a good newspaper, so get it. Well, next on the list, local healthcare facility plan for the site of the former Good Sam Hospital in Dayton. So remember when the Good Sam Hospital was tore down, now they're into the next phase, and it says from the Dayton Daily News, that is, it says the former site of the Good Samaritan Hospital will be redeveloped into a healthcare facility, which include urgent care, physician offices, and office space, and more. It says Phoenix Next announced Wednesday that Premier Health has committed to build a 12,000-foot healthcare facility that will have physical therapy, lab services, and medical imaging. And that's a good thing. You know, Premier, when they decided to close Good Sam, they didn't just leave an empty building, and they didn't just leave employees hanging. They offered other jobs to all those folks who was be affected by the closing of Good Sam. And they also left money on the table, hired a consultant firm to come in and redevelop, you know, that piece of property, and also renovate and do some things in the neighborhood. They're not done. I mean, this thing is going to be nice when it's all said and done. And I believe they're still taking suggestions for, you know, other uses of that piece of property. So if you want to get involved, folks, it's time to get involved. Good things are happening. And, you know, I applaud Premier. I was disappointed when the hospital closed, but that's a business decision. And businesses, for whatever reason, make decisions, whether I agree with them or not. You know, that's the way it planned out. But this time around, Premier just didn't leave a piece of old vacant property where grass and weeds would grow up on it. And they also looked out for the surrounding neighborhood also, because that neighborhood will benefit also in the future, because that's in the plans. I went to a couple of the meetings when they had the meetings. And if you didn't get to those meetings, you missed it. You missed all the plans. So good things are going to come to that Good Sam old site, and they're right in the right direction of making this stuff happen. So I applaud them. Also, we got some more development right in the Wright Dunbar area. The West Social Food Hall to transform Wright Dunbar from a dining desert to a food destination. The historic Wright Dunbar Business District is about to go from 0 food and beverage establishments to 7. Construction has started on the West Social Tap and Table at 11,000 West 3rd Street. And the $2.1 million project will transform the former conference center in Dayton to its first food hall. Now this is great. You know, this is right down in the Wright Dunbar area. If you're not familiar with the Wright Dunbar area, it's Wright Dunbar right here in Dayton, Ohio. More businesses are popping up, and this dining hall is one that's come. Now the food hall will be a home to a bar, a grindhouse coffee and tea company, and 5 other independent businesses. And the businesses are Delish, Illy's, Fire Pizza, Taco Street, Soca, and La Pina Queen. So these businesses they got together. They're going to be under one roof, and you can go and enjoy yourself. Hopefully within the next, they'll be done maybe, you know, by the first of the year, I'm assuming, according to the article. And this is good for Wright Dunbar, and it's good for Dayton, because here we go. Here's some more businesses, folks. But yeah, I keep telling you, we have to support these businesses in order to make these businesses stay around as long as they need to be. So make sure you check that out. That's in the Wright Dunbar area. And if anybody out there who has a business who want to, you know, there's some more vacant property down in the Wright Dunbar area, I suggest you come back, contact Wright Dunbar Inc., you know, and maybe your businesses will be showcased here on the show next time around. So good things are happening. One of the things I want to highlight is this virus. I mean, we're dealing with COVID-19, and now we're dealing with the Delta virus. Folks, this stuff is deadly, and there's a lot of misinformation that is going around. And I wanted to just highlight about 8 different pieces of information that I've come across to dispel some of the rumors, because there's a lot of rumors out there, people. I mean, so I'm going to dispel it, and I got this information from PolitiFact. And PolitiFact, they're non-biased, they're not political, they just get to the facts. They do all the research, and then they put the articles out, and they tell you where they got the research from, and they tell you what their conclusion is. That's why I love PolitiFact, because it gets right to the facts of the matter. And I'm going to go down some of the myths of this COVID-19, and hopefully, you know, you can share this with your family and friends. Now, the first one is the myth that the COVID-19 vaccines do not work. The fact is they do. Now, as vaccinations ramped up in the spring, cases and hospitalizations went down. Public health officials now say 99.5% of the COVID-19 deaths in the past few months have been among unvaccinated people. And so and Anthony Fauci, he gets a lot of TV time because he is an expert, in this field of vaccines. Now, let me clear up one other myth. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the chief medical advisor to President Joe Biden, never said that the vaccines don't work. That was a claim out there on the social media pages and all the other kind of nonsense. The man never said that, so let's clear that up. The other myth, the COVID-19 vaccines were not properly tested or developed, and that's not right. The U.S. allowed emergency use of 3 different vaccines after chemical trials involving tens of thousands of participants showing that they were safe and effective. So we clear that myth up too. The other myth, COVID-19 vaccines are mandatory. The fact is, they're not. Colleges and businesses can require vaccinations as a continued interest into employment or interest into the building. Now, businesses are not barred by health information privacy laws from asking customers about vaccines. So, these people, they run around hollering like, oh, it's against my Constitution. Let me tell you something, folks. Keeping people safe is not a constitutional right that you cannot keep people safe. So the bottom line is this. These people run out here unvaccinated and talking about the vaccine, and they don't want to take the vaccine because it's their constitutional right and all that kind of stuff. That's not your right. You don't have the right to walk around unknowingly and pass on a deadly virus to me or anybody else. That's not a right. You don't have the right to pass on that virus to me. That's not a right. So you can stop saying that nonsense. The other issue is COVID-19 vaccines contain microchips for government tracking. The fact is, they do not. As Dr. Paul Offit, the chair of the vaccineology at the University of Pennsylvania, he stated, a microchip is about 0.5 inches long. That wouldn't fit through the end of a needle. So, there's no microchips in the vaccine, people. This is according to Politico, not me. I'm just reading what PolitiFact had wrote, and they researched it. I'm telling you what the research is. You know what I mean? And people say, oh, yeah, you're not a doctor. Yeah, you're right. I'm not a doctor. But I know how to research, and I know how to read, and I know what the facts are, and these are the facts. So, number 5, the COVID vaccine contains materials and other problematic ingredients. They do not. As a matter of fact, the makeup of the vaccines available in the United States is no secret. Ingredient lists for the Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson shots can be found online, courtesy of the FDA. So, there you go. Number 6, COVID-19 vaccines have caused widespread death and disease. The fact is, they haven't. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention wrote as of July the 21st that based on review of all information of death reports in a database, there's no causal link to the vaccine. So, all right, so let me move on. The COVID-19 vaccines killed or harmed various celebrities. They haven't. That was a myth. The rapper DMX, as it says, he died from a heart attack. Baseball legend Hank Aaron, he died from natural causes, not the vaccine. Boxer Marvelous Marvin Hagler, he died from natural causes, not the vaccine. And the Danish soccer player Christian Eriksen, who collapsed on the field in June, was not due to the vaccine. The professional club said he hadn't even received the shots. So all this stuff floating around on the web and all this kind of thing, talking about these people died when they had the vaccine. No, they didn't, folks. Okay, so let's move on. COVID-19 vaccines alter your DNA. The fact they don't. The available vaccines use different technologies to instruct cells to build protection against the virus. But there's no genetic material enters the part of the cell that hosts the DNA. And that's per the CDC. So, I just wanted to bring some of that up so that you'll have a better understanding, a clearer understanding and truthful understanding about this COVID-19 vaccine. And also, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's a representative out of Georgia, who says some of the most bizarre, unchecked statements I ever seen a leader in that position make.
Whip Scalise said today he got vaccinated, citing this Delta variant that's going around, and said he's confident that it's safe and effective. Two questions. Have you yourself gotten vaccinated, and do you disagree with the Republican whip?
Well, your first question is a violation of my HIPAA rights. You see, with HIPAA rights, we don't have to reveal our medical records, and that also involves our vaccine records.
And do you disagree with?
She also said, somebody asked her about has she taken the COVID-19 vaccine, and she said it violates her HIPAA, and HIPAA shields her from answering that question. It does not. Now, what HIPAA does is it bars healthcare professionals and insurers from sharing medical records without permission. It does not shield a person from questions about their medical information. Now, Greene works for the public, and employers are free to ask about your vaccination status. There's nothing unconstitutional about that. Here's the other part. Employers may ask employees if they are vaccinated without running afoul of HIPAA, according to the federal guidelines. So, now Marjorie Taylor Greene, she can sidestep the question, but it's not because it's a HIPAA violation. And while I mentioned that, most of these people out there who's knocking the vaccine, telling folks don't get the vaccine, if you look at some of these people are vaccinated. Some of these people got the vaccine, but they're telling you that the vaccine won't do this and won't do that and all the other kind of stuff. And she won't even answer. Marjorie Taylor, who's a representative out of Georgia, she won't even answer the question whether or not she has taken the vaccine. So you see the game they're playing, folks? Don't let these people play this game with your life. Not only your life, your family members' life, friends you come in contact with life, the people you go into these, wherever you go, you can infect people who come in contact with you, and these people can die because you're listening to people who are trying to make money and are trying to divide us on an issue that could save your life. You've seen the videos where people are on their deathbed and the words out their mouth is, the doctor says, oh, I wish I would have taken the vaccine. I wish I would have taken the vaccine, but it's too late. And mandatory vaccines are nothing new. Before you can enter school, your child has to be vaccinated with about 5 different vaccinations. That's nothing new. Now all of a sudden people going crazy because they assume that they don't want to take a vaccine that can save their life. A vaccine that can save your life, you don't want to take it because you're listening to some talking head who you don't even know if they have taken the vaccine or not, telling you not to take the vaccine. You better be smarter than that, folks. Let me move on. Study finds that job applications with distinctively black names get called back less for interview. Now, this caught my eye. Now, you remember Raven-Symoné when she was on the show called The View back in 2015, and she stated that she wouldn't hire someone if they had an overtly black-sounding name. Well, apparently there was a study done, Business Insider report, that the study concluded by the research at the University of Chicago and the University of California, Berkeley, found that applicants with distinctively black names have a 2.1% less chance of getting contacted for an interview compared to white-sounding names. Now, this was determined after researchers sent more than 83,000 entry-level job applications to 108 Fortune 500 companies in the United States. And as a matter of fact, the New York Times report that the method that the universities use for this experiment draws from a person named Kalisha White 20 years ago. Now, Ms. White believed that her application to be an executive team leader at the Wisconsin Target was ignored because her name and her race. And here's what she did. She created a fake resume with less qualified candidate with a white-sounding name. And guess what? The fake name got called back. So, this study proves that there's name discrimination going on in the workplace. Now, I would like, to further this study, and I will further this study, I would like to find out of those 108 Fortune 500 companies who they are and call them out. Y'all might want to look up that study, and y'all might want to call these companies out for discrimination, because that's basically what it is. Here's a story. I know you didn't see this one. You probably heard about it. Alabama council members Tommy Bryant utters stunning racist slur in a meeting. And I'll let you hear what Tommy Bryant had to say in this council member meeting.
Let's get to the N word.
I mean, I know I'm
do we
black.
have, hey, do we
Now
have,
you want to address what I have to say.
do we have a here?
Yeah, you.
Okay.
Do we? Hey,
Yeah,
do we? Would she please stand up?
Y'all are seeing this, right? Cameras? Alright.
That's what Miss Freeman was called.
That's what the mayor called her. What do y'all think about that? Huh? Y'all like that?
In executive session, it was not any of us.
It's okay for me to repeat it because, as I said before, I wanted everybody to know what the mayor said. He said it in a derogatory manner. I said it so that people would know what the mayor said. I did not mean anything derogatory about it.
So, I didn't have to say it. You heard it out of his own mouth. Now, this guy, at the city commission meeting that they were having, the council meeting, there were some comments made to Mr. Bryant from the public questioning about his wife's uses of the same slur on social media. And that's when, Mr. Bryant jumped up and said what he said. And then he has the nerve to say that the mayor, who is black, used the term, and he was trying to amplify the gratuity of it. Let me tell you something, folks. I think old Tommy Bryant got caught up, him and his old lady, for using the N-word a bunch of times. They got real comfortable, you know what I mean? See, and he let it all out. It's good to know who the races are, than the ones who you don't know. So, Mr. Tommy Bryant and your wife, the folks down there this is Tarrant, Alabama. The folks down there know what you do now and know what you say in private, and you know what you say in public. So, can't make this stuff up, folks. Now, the Olympics is going on, and I've watched some of the Olympics also, but you probably didn't see this story. A Costa Rican gymnast, Luciana Alvarado, that's her name, incorporated a Black Lives Matter tribute into her routine. And she is the first gymnast from Costa Rica to qualify for the Olympics. The 18-year-old ended the country's first ever qualifying floor routine in the 2020 Tokyo Olympic gymnastic competition by taking a knee, placing her left hand behind her back, and raising her right hand into a fist toward the sky. So, Black Lives Matter has gone around the world, and people are showing their support for folks of color. And this gymnast from Costa Rica, she did just that, in the Olympic Games. She didn't make it, to the finals, but she did do her floor routine, and she finished, with the fist in the air and on one knee and one hand behind her back. So I applaud her for bringing that to the attention, because our lives do matter, and the fact that we still see videos of rogue police officers physically assaulting even teenagers to this point. I mean, you've seen the videos on social media, where these police officers, they come in there and, tackle folks and jump on black. Most of the ones I've seen were all black folks. I ain't seen no white folks treated that way. I've seen white folks, swing on the cops. I've seen them drive away. I've seen them wreck the vehicles of these police officers, and they don't fire a shot. They treat the guy with kid gloves. But as far as black folk go, if we do that, we'll be shot. And then if we ain't shot, we still survive. They drag us out the car, and about 6 of them jump on his back and wrestle him down and that kind of nonsense. It looked like something out of the WWE. Why can't these officers show the same restraint when it comes, like they do white folk? Why can't they show that same restraint when it comes to black folk? And some of these officers don't need to be in the rank and file of the police. They need to be kicked off the police force when they do this nonsense. I seen one of them the latest one, this officer was on top of this teenager, black teenager, just holding her down on top of her, talking crazy. Teenager talking about she can't breathe, and officer didn't care. If you're a police officer, I want you to hear me well. If you're a police officer and you don't have enough sense, I'm going to say that, to know that you are using too much force against a citizen, you don't need to be a police officer, because your judgment is not where it needs to be. And you, rogue police officer, put all the good police officers in danger by acting in that manner. Because we all applaud good policing, the ones who are protecting and serving and respecting the public, but those other folks, and it's a small percentage of them, they need to be out of any type of law enforcement department. So I just want to bring that up. Speaking of civil rights activist Robert Moses died. He was 86. If you don't know who he was, he was a central figure in the 1964 Freedom Summer. Now, the Freedom Summer, I'll get to that in a minute, but Robert Moses, he was a civil rights activist who was shot at, who endured beatings and jail while leading black voter registration drives in the American South during the 1960s, and later helped improve minority education in math when he got done doing his civil rights. He also, what he did was, he was the Mississippi field director of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee during the Civil Rights Movement, and was essential in the 1964 Freedom Summer, which hundreds of students went to the South to register voters. Now, let me tell you something about this guy. He's 1963. Him and 2 other activists, James Travis and Randolph Blackwell, were driving through Greenwood, Mississippi, when someone opened fire on them, and the 20-year-old Travis was hit. And as a press release from the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Moses described how bullets whizzed past around them, and it hit Travis, and then Moses had to take the wheel because they were going to wreck. He said, "We were inches away from being killed." That's what Moses said in a press release. See, folks, we have people like Robert Moses who put his life on the line to register folks to vote. And that's why I say all these states who are coming up with these voter suppression pieces of legislation, we gonna vote. I'm gonna say it again. We gonna vote, because I'll be doing a disservice to Robert Moses, to all these other folks who died for, he didn't die for us to get the right to vote. He got close to it, but there was other folks who died for us to even register to go vote. And now some of these folks talking about they're going to take away drop boxes, They're going to shut down the voting polls in certain areas early. They ain't going to allow Sunday voting. You ain't going to allow folks to give out water to people waiting in line to vote. Let me tell you something, you ain't going to be successful. If you have to come up with pieces of legislation to try to prevent people from voting, that leads me to believe that you know you can't win without trying to rig the game. And they got pieces of legislation coming right here in Ohio. These people know that they can't win if the voting is left the way it is right now. There's nothing wrong with voting now. You know what the only reason why they trying to do this now? Is because when Donald Trump lost, right, they figure we got to rig this game to get less folks of color to vote. That's their end game. And they want to take over the process from the Secretary of State. They want to take that process over. And so if the election is close, they want to say they person won without any proof, because they're saying it now. There's no proof of voter fraud, but they keep saying it. They want to control this, folks. I'll say it and I'll say it again. I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm going to keep saying it because it deserves to be said. And what we need to do, because I don't know if they're going to be able to turn all this stuff around or not. I know the DOJ is voting. DOJ got a lawsuit against Georgia, and there's some other things. But we got to get ready, folks. We got to know when the polls open and when they close. We got to learn where the drop boxes are and drop it in. We got to know what piece of ID we need and get it. We got to prepare to vote. Don't let nobody turn us around, people. We have to prepare to vote. Now, we can protest out in the streets, we can do all that. But if we ain't preparing our people to know what time the polls open, what time the polls close, what piece of ID I need, where's the drop boxes, we gonna come up short. Our candidate ain't gonna have a chance. We need to start voter education right now. We gotta do it, folks, right now. Because these people changing the rules of the game, right? They're changing the rules of the game. And we have to change how we do things too, if this is the way it's gonna be. I'm not saying this is the way it's gonna be when it comes to vote, but if it is, we gotta be prepared. We gotta focus on that. And I'll bring that up at a later show. But we gotta prepare, folks. Don't let these people turn us around with this stuff they're doing. If we go vote, they can't win. Just that simple. I don't care how these people on these talking heads on this TV, how they want to explain it. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Voter Suppression, you can't win, and you think these tricks by closing the polls early, by not voting on Sunday, by eliminating drop boxes, you think that's going to help you win. But I got another plan for you. You see, because I heard the Reverend say, there's God's plan, and then there's man's plan. And God's plan outweighs man's plan if man's plan is built on devilish. So that's all I'm going to say. I ain't going to preach. That's all I'm going to say about that before I start preaching. I ain't going to preach. I'll leave that to those who do it better than me. But until next time, folks, share this show out. Make sure you share the information about the COVID-19 vaccine, because that is accurate and correct information. You know, the site I got it from, you can go to it yourself. That's PolitiFact. You go to PolitiFact, look it up. You can look at all the information that I just gave you. It's accurate information, it's right information, and it's information that can save your life, and it possibly can save someone else's life. Don't listen to them people out there talking about this virus. You know, it's not serious. This virus is just a common cold. This virus is just like getting the chicken pox and all that other kind of stuff. Don't listen to that, folks. This is a matter of life and death. And if you want to play Russian roulette with your life, that's on you. But by playing Russian roulette with your life, you also affect other people whom you come in contact with, and those people may value their life more than you do yours. So, until next time, may God bless you and your family.